Welcome, Tech Wizards. Today we're cracking open the secrets of a decoupled Kafka-based text-to-speech application. Ready for this? The message you're hearing now was generated by a Python app running on the top terminal and consumed on the bottom terminal. How cool is that? We'll start with setting up Docker, get hands-on with Python's command line tools, and then build this epic system from scratch. Let's jump right in. Nukul, over to you.
Thanks for that introduction and welcome back everyone. In our last video, we explored the architecture of this text-to-speech application powered by Kafka. We looked at how the producer, consumer, and topics work together in a decoupled architecture. And I even gave you a live demo of the system in action. Today, we are taking things to the next level. I'll walk you through how to clone this GitHub repo, set up the Docker to run the services, and explore the command line tools that make this application stick. By the end of this video, you'll have the entire system running locally on your own machine, and you'll also have an idea of how Kafka works with its command line tools. So without further ado, let's get started by cloning the GitHub repo in your local environment. So for me to do that, I'll actually destroy this particular Kafka topic. So you'll have the same system as I will once we restart our system from scratch, right? So I'm going to destroy that topic. That topic is gone. I'm going to shut down these applications over here. And I will start from scratch for us. I'm going to close that too. So the way it is going to work for you is that you'll open a terminal window, right? So any terminal window, and you'll go to a directory of your choice. So I keep all of my code organized in this particular directory, cd dev AI. And once I have this directory open, I already have a ton of projects over here. So I'm going to show you this. I have a ton of different projects over here that I'm working on. So you can choose any directory of your choice. Go to this repo page, github.com teachings/sts, and the link will be in the description section of this video. Go to this page, go to code, and clone this repo, and then do a git clone. Paste this, enter. I already have this cloned in my local, so I'm getting this error message. You will not. You'll actually get this cloned in your local. And then when you do, you will be able to cd into this sts directory. And this is what we want. We want to be in this sts directory to proceed over here. And once we are in this sts directory, we can do code space dot, right? So you need to have Visual Studio Code installed already for this to work, or any text editor of your choice. I like Visual Studio Code, so I'm going to just use this for now. So in Visual Studio Code, now you can navigate through this directory easily, right? So there are 3 directories over here, but the one that you are looking for is this tutorial, because we are going to be looking at the tutorial section today, and then we'll navigate into the intent analysis and some other components of this application later on. But let's get the basics down first, and then we'll get to some more complex things later in this video series. So once you are in the tutorials, go to this Kafka basics folder, and this is where you have this docker compose.yaml file, right? So in my case, my docker compose is already running. All the Docker services are already running. How do I know that? I can do a docker stats, and it will show all the running Docker services. And in my case, I already have this Kafka basics, images that are already running. So what I'll do first is I'm gonna Control C. I'll first go to this folder and I will start from scratch. So I'll do a cd tutorial and Kafka basics. And this is why I'll have to bring the system down first, because mine is already up. I had to give you that live demo. So Docker compose down. I have to do the down. You guys won't have to do it, but I'm just going to bring all the systems down so I and you are at the same level, right? So now what you have to do is get to this particular folder. So dev AI sts tutorial Kafka basics. And once you are in this folder, you see that there is a Docker compose file in this particular folder. And what you have to do is Docker compose up -d. So -d actually frees up your terminal. But if you actually want to see what all is running, you can just do Docker compose up over here. And this particular Docker image has a ton of different services that will come up. So I'm going to hit enter over here, and then I will talk about what all these different services are, and we will go from there, right? So once you hit enter, this command line will go crazy. It will do a ton of different stuff. Let it do whatever it is doing. And once it is done, you will see that the craziness will stop and everything will kind of settle down in a little bit. So I think it has almost settled down, and I believe the services are up now. So while it has turned, all the services are up, I'm going to just close this terminal. I'm not killing this terminal, right? But I'm just going to close this hide panel option over here. So let's talk about what all different services have been brought up in this Docker Compose file. Service number 1. Kafka. Of course, we need Kafka over here. And the name that I have given to this is Kafka-A. Why -A? So let's say if you wanted to build a whole cluster with multiple Kafka instances, you could do Kafka-B, -C and all that. It is just a simple local cluster over here. So we are just going to do one instance of Kafka. Kafka-A is sufficient, or you can just choose Kafka over here too after modifying rest of your Docker Compose file, but I'd just leave it the way it is. So Kafka-A. The image that I'm taking is this Bitnami image, and there are various different reasons why I chose this. Let's just keep those reasons aside for now and assume this is one of the good images that I'm going to use. So all these images and everything can be found online. So if you go to Bitnami's page, so let's do that actually quick. So you can go over here, you can search for this, and on the Docker Hub, you will find this particular Bitnami's image. And you can read in depth about what this image does and all these configuration properties that I have chosen over here. Why did I choose what? If you want to read in detail, these are all the configuration properties that are listed right here. So you can go read at your own pace that particular page, but at a very high level, you'll see that I'm exposing the port 9092, the internal port 9092 to the external port 9092 outside of Docker so that I can interact with this particular Kafka service. This is where we'll be using our clients to connect to, right? So both the producer and consumer will be using 9092 port to connect to. 9094, on the other hand, will be used for some other admin related activities and some other services down the line in this same Docker Compose file that I'll talk about. And then just assume that this is the configuration that is being used. We are using the craft mode over here, not the zookeeper. So beyond Kafka 3, that zookeeper mode is not being used, and the craft mode is the default that is being used. So we are using the latest way of interacting with Kafka over here. A couple things to point out is the number of partitions over here is set to 2. So if you do not specify how many partitions you want, by default, it will create 2 partitions for you. If you want to know what these partitions are, I went into detail in my previous video, so please do watch that before coming and watching all of this video. All right. And then there are auto create topics enable, which means that if a topic does not exist and you are trying to send a message to a topic, then it will automatically create that. And there are small little details in each one of these environment variables. So let's see what other services do we have. So Kafka-A is one of the services. Second service is REST proxy. So this is provided by Confluent. And this lets you use your Kafka server as a REST API client. Defeats the purpose, I believe. But, you know, if you want to send HTTP commands, and not every client is capable of communicating in Kafka's lingo. So you can still use, you know, REST proxy over here to interact with Kafka using the REST client. So that's why I have enabled this option with this particular Docker image. Do you necessarily need that? No. For everything that we'll be doing, we will not need the REST proxy over here. I have just added it just in case for future, for some other applications which want to do REST-based request responses. I might use that, and that's why I have kept REST proxy over here. Schema registry. This is a very important concept. So whenever we are sending a message to a topic, it needs to follow a schema. If we keep on changing the schema of the message, then it becomes very hard for the consumers to rely on the message's integrity, right? So schema registry is another image from Confluent where we are going to be storing our schemas for the messages. For this very simple basic example, we are not going to use it, but we will see how we'll use schema registry when we will develop the full end-to-end speech-to-speech application, right? So for now, if you want, you can ignore it, but schema registry is a very important concept, way more important than REST proxy that is not being used over here. So even though schema registry is not being used, it is very important. Kafka UI. So Kafka UI is something that was letting us see, and let me open this over here. So this UI that you saw over here, right? This is the Kafka UI. Kafka directly does not come with any UI. There is this Provectus Labs. So these guys, they have the created this Kafka UI, and this is just a layer of UI for visual representation of all these different topics and partitions and consumers, offsets, and everything, in a nice laid format. They have made this beautiful UI, simple yet elegant UI that I like. So I have integrated that. Kafka UI works with, of course, it depends on the Kafka, but it also depends on the schema registry. So you'll see that the Kafka UI has the schema registry section over here, and this one needs a connection to schema registry, which has been exposed over here from 8081 port, right? So we are going to be using the schema registry over here for Kafka UI. All right, so let's close the Kafka UI section. What else do we have? So we have Postgres and we have Adminer. Why are these two over here? Well, these two are again not needed for our current application, but they are needed for STT and intent analysis and other things in future. So I would just skip this for now. So forget about their existence over here, Postgres and Adminer's existence, but they will be utilized at a later point of time, and when they will, I will talk about it. So one thing that you'll notice is that Kafka UI's internal port is 8080, and I have exposed it on 8090. So the way you will access this Kafka UI is by going to localhost colon 8090 over here, and this is how Kafka UI will show up. Why did I not choose to have it exposed on 8080? So the reason being, Adminer also exposes its port on 8080, and I had already exposed this on 8080, so I just chose to have Kafka UI on 8090. I mean, I could have done either way, but I just chose to have Kafka UI go on 8090 and not Adminer go on 8090. It is just the external port that we wanted to expose. All right, so there are 6 services over here overall, and out of these 6 services, what you need as a bare minimum is Kafka, schema registry, and Kafka UI. These are the 3 ones that are needed bare minimum for this tutorial. I think you don't even need schema registry for this tutorial. You just need a Kafka and Kafka UI for this, and everything else is optional for you. But while you are doing Docker Compose up, let's just do it, let it run, let it pull all the images, because you are going to need it for future while you are following the rest of the tutorial series anyway. All right, all that being said, let's revive our terminal back again. Let's see. Everything is up over here, everything is running, and there are no error messages. Another way to check if all your images are running or not is by going to your extensions tab, downloading the Docker extension, which I already have downloaded the Docker extension over here. You see it's already installed. And once you install this Docker extension, you will have this Docker icon available over here. And when you click on this Docker icon, you will see that you have certain images up over here. So in the Kafka basics, you have Adminer, your Bitnami's Kafka, Confluent Kafka REST proxy, and then schema registry, Postgres, and Provectus Labs Kafka UI. So all these 5 or 6 Docker images have been up for you now from this Docker Compose. You can also see in nice way how different ports are exposed over here. So your port 8080 is exposed, and in Bitnami port 9092 and 9094 are exposed. Very cool. So I really like this particular plugin for your VS Code. It shows you all these Docker containers in a very nice and beautiful way. Okay, so now that your base services are up, if you want to just run this application, it is very simple. If you just want to run this application, you'll notice that in the, so let me go to a new terminal over here. So if you do a lsla over here, there is this requirements.txt file. Right? So if you see, there is a requirements.txt file over here, and there are some requirements that are mentioned over here. And again, you do not need all these requirements for your current tutorial. You only need selective sum for the current tutorial. But you should go ahead and install this anyway, because again, you'll be needing it for rest of the tutorial. So what I've done is I've created a new Conda environment, Conda create STS, right? So Conda create, this is the command that I used, Conda create name STS Python 3.11 and pip. And after running this, my Conda environment got created. I'm not going to create it again. Mine's already created. And then once you have created it, you can do Conda activate STS. Mine is already activated. So yours will also look like this. So now that you have your Conda environment created and activated, you in a way have a way to run your Python commands that can produce and subscribe to your Kafka. So which particular Python command, Python library you actually needed over here, that's this Kafka Python, which is part of one of your requirements over here. So now that you have yours, let me actually open a separate terminal over here. So what I'm going to do is in this terminal, I'll go to this tutorials folder. So cd tutorial, and then if I want to see what all are the contents of here, so these are all the contents that I have, but I am not in my correct Conda environment in this. So I'll do a Conda activate STS. So I am now in the correct Conda environment, and in this environment I already have the requirements installed. I have done a pip install -r requirements.txt, right? I've already done that. Do I not have? Oh, the requirements are in the previous. So if I go over here, so requirements.txt is over here, right? So I have already run pip install -r requirements.txt. So nothing is getting installed over here for me. These are all requirements are already satisfied for me, but for you, they will all be installed for you for the first time when you will run this. Okay, so after you have run this, there is one, before I show you how to set up this application, I want to go over the command line tutorial and basics of Kafka. So let's do this. I'm going to show you how to get inside your Kafka's Docker container so that you can access the terminal from there. So if you right click over here and if you do attach shell, right, you can do an attach shell, and this actually attaches the shell to your Docker container. But you can also attach a shell without doing all this, right? So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to kill this particular shell. So let's kill this shell, and I'm going to come over here to my terminal, and let's do a Docker ps. Let's see what all Docker containers are currently running. So this is the one that it is currently running. And what is it calling? It is calling this is the Kafka UI. I want the one that is actual Kafka. So the Bitnami container, where is that? This is the one. And this Bitnami container is named as Kafka Basics Kafka -A1. Let's just copy this, right? So we'll copy the name of this container. And then we can do docker exec it in the interactive mode. And then we're going to paste this, and then we will write bash after it. And by doing this, you will enter the Kafka's container over here. And now you will see you can run your command line tools over here. Okay, so this is the trick that you can actually run this particular command from anywhere in your terminal, and it will have you go into your Docker container, and you can now run shell script and shell commands inside your Docker container, right? So let me just clear all that out, run this again, and show you that you are able to get into your Docker containers shell directly, not your Linux shell, but your Docker shell, which is what you want. And why do you want that? Because now you have access to all the Kafka related commands from that shell, right? So this is pretty cool. Now we will go into the tutorial section of our video. So in here, you have already actually cloned this. So if you see, there is Kafka basics, and these 4 tutorials is what we're going to walk through right now. So there are command lines for topics, for producers, consumers, and consumer management. These are the 4 things we'll take a look at today. And there is one way to do it is by going over here. You can go to this markdown file, click on this icon over here, and you can see this preview, but this doesn't look very pretty over here in this view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just minimize this, go to this GitHub page, and it looks quite nice from this GitHub page. So go on this tutorial, go to this Kafka basics and 01, and this is the tutorial that we are going to follow right now. So what is the CLI tutorial over here? Let me make this bigger. So the CLI tutorial is essentially just having command line do everything that we would probably do using programmatically, right? So there is this tool called Kafka topics.sh, and it will let you list down your Kafka topics, or it will let you do more management related tasks on your Kafka topic too. So in our Kafka image, we have the Kafka version 3.9. This is the latest version available right now. So everything that we'll be following is for the latest version of Kafka in the craft mode. So this is the up-to-date series on Kafka right now. So the very first command that we'll do is let's just create a topic called text-to-speech, which already exists for us, right? So if you see over here, we already have this text-to-speech topic that already exists for us. So we're not going to be creating the topic. Let's just list all the existing topics right now. So, or you know what, let's delete whatever is in there. Let's start from scratch, and let's actually create this topic too. So what I'm going to do is go over here, and let's just get rid of this topic. Let's start from scratch. Okay, all right, gone. So when you start your Kafka UI, you will see these 2 topics over here. So one correction that I want to make for my last video, I've been calling these as tables. I don't know why. It's just natural to be in the database world and call these things as tables. These are not tables. Consumer offsets is just a topic in Kafka. Schemas is another topic in Kafka. So these are the topics that exist in Kafka to do some internal Kafka related things, right? So that's why the consumer offset has 2 hyphens in front of it. Anyway, let's come back over here, and let's list this. Let me actually make this like this. Okay, so now I will have a nice interface on the left and on the right to play around with. All right, so let's go to the tutorial that we have, and let's create this particular Kafka topic. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this over here. Okay, so what we are saying over here is that we have a Kafka topic.sh configured with bootstrap server of localhost 9092. Remember, in our Docker Compose, we had exposed port 9092. This is why. And then we are saying the topic that we want to create is called text-to-speech. The action is create. We want 3 partitions for it, and the replication factor is 1. Replication factor is 1 because we have only one broker over here. We have only one server over here. All right, I'm going to hit enter over here to create this particular topic, and this topic got created, and let's see if it got created or not. So we're gonna hit refresh over here, and we will see that this topic got created, and there are 3 partitions. The replication factor is 1, and everything looks just like how we have this particular topic created. And yes, it is giving us a warning that due to limitations in metric names, topics with a period or underscore could collide, and to avoid this issue, best use either but not both. So it's just giving us, like a a warning message over here that this is something that you should keep in mind, especially because we have already used a underscore over here. Okay, so for this particular topic, now what other activities that we can do? So let's list it down now, right? So let's list down this topic on the command line. So in the command line, what we are saying is Kafka topics.sh, bootstrap server is localhost 9092, and we want to list down these topics. Hit enter, and it lists down these 3 topics. Again, this is why we have Kafka UI, because Kafka UI makes things so much easier for us. We can visualize this just by click of a button, but you can also do all these management activities that you are doing from Kafka UI on the terminal too. Okay, let's go down a little bit, and how to describe a topic, right? So what does topic description even mean? So it means how the topic is actually laid out. What is the replication factor? What are the offsets? And all the different intricacies and details it will list down. So let's run this describe command, and let's see what it produces over here. Perfect. So this says, let me see if I can make this bigger like this. Okay. So it is saying that, hey, the topic has 3 partitions, 0, 1, 2. And the leader partition, this is the leader partition is 1. Well, the leader and the replication. So this is where I'll have to explain what replication means, what in sync replica means, and what the concept of leader is over here. So if we had more than one broker available, and if the replication factor was more than 1, then there would be one broker that would be called as the leader. And there will be the non-leader brokers will also exist, but there will be only one broker for a partition that will be the leader. And this is where this is pointing out that there is this existing one is the leader for this particular partition. So for partition 0, the leader is 1. The first one over here is the leader, and you will see that the 1 is the leader for all 3 partitions, because these partitions are not spread across different brokers right now. So the leader partition is the one is the number 1 broker over here. So what is the concept of a leader? So let's say there are multiple brokers available, and there are multiple replication factors for those multiple brokers. Whenever you send a message to a topic, whenever you produce a message against a partition, it always gets sent to the leader partition, and then it gets replicated, it gets synced, right, to other replicas of that particular partition in different brokers. And whenever the replica is in sync with the leader partition, then it is called as a in sync replica. So this is why you have some other details over here available. And I think this is irrelevant for our current discussion, but once you get deeper into clustering aspect of Kafka, then the leader partition, replicas, number of replicas, and the in-sync partition and all that will come into picture. So for now, all you have to take a look at is that when you describe a topic, you see the topic name, you see how many partitions are there, and for each partition there will be a row created over here for you. If you want to increase the number of partitions in Kafka, so okay, all right, can you increase the number of partitions? Yes, but this is actually very, very dangerous for you to do, because there's a concept of keys and values in Kafka. So whenever you are worried about ordering of the messages, you always send the messages in Kafka in a key value pair. Every time when you apply a key, there is a algorithm that is being used to determine which partition that particular key value pair will go to. So the algorithm is used on the key of Kafka, and then it uses that algorithm to determine out of the current number of partitions, right? So if there are 3 partitions, how am I going to distribute the load to each one of the partition? If you increase the number of partitions down the line, then the same key can go to a different partition. So this is a very risky thing to do in production. If you ever want to do this, increase the number of partitions, be aware that it will mess with your ordering in future. So once you run this command, now you have 5 partitions instead of 3. Let's visualize that. So I'm gonna do a describe on this partition now. I hit up key 2 times, so I got to this command. And if I hit enter again, you will see that it shows there are 5 partitions now, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 partitions exist now. And this is okay maybe at the start when you have not sent any messages. This is okay if you are not worried about ordering. This is also okay if you are never gonna send keys and only values to your Kafka topic. This will cause an issue if you are ever going to be deploying this in production, and in production you are most likely always going to be sending key value pairs. Your keys will not be ordered after you change the number of partition. All right, let's just go down to next section. How to delete a Kafka topic. Yep, very interesting. We already saw that, how to do that from the UI, right? You just hit this 3 dots, and then you just remove from there. So very simple and easy doing it from the UI. But if you want to do that from the command line, just copy this. And well, let's just see what the command looks like after I paste it. So Kafka topics.sh starts with a bootstrapped server configuration of 9092 and -- delete. This is what sends the delete command to the topic text-to-speech, which is what we had just created. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit that again, and this will delete the topic. So if you try to describe a deleted topic, it will say that the topic does not exist. So there is an error that it shows over here, right? So it says does not exist as expected. All right, so these are the simple commands that you can do in order to create a topic, alter a topic, describe a topic, so some simple command and list all the existing topics over here. Let's go back. Let's go to the second producers over here concept. So what is a Kafka producer? So producer is a client application that actually produces the messages against your Kafka topic. So if we take a look at this diagram that we have, so producer is the one that is pushing the messages to the Kafka topic. So we took a look at the topic, all the management activities of the topic over here. And now we're going to take a look at the producer over here. So how can we produce the messages, command line messages over here, right? Produce the messages using the command line interface, using the CLI, using the terminal. So let's come back over here, producer CLI terminal. So it's very simple. It's very easy. The format is almost the same. Instead of using the previous command, which was So let's come back over here. We were using Kafka-topics, command over here. In this case, we'll be using Kafka console producer command now. And this is actually where the fun part will begin. So let's produce messages against a topic that does not exist, right? So why do I say a topic does not exist? Because if we do a list on this, right? So let's do a list and you will see that there are only two topics. Those are the internal Kafka topics, and this topic does not really exist. What happens if we produce a message against a topic that does not exist? Let's try to see that. So I'm gonna hit enter over here, and it appears that it is asking me to enter a message to try to produce a message over here. So let's do that. All right. And it feels like it has done something over here. So let's read it. So warning, producer, client, console producer, the metadata response on the cluster reported a recoverable issue with correlation ID of 6, text-to-speech, unknown topic of partition. Okay, so it is saying that there is no topic of partition over here. Let's go on the UI, refresh this, and let's see. It did create something over here for us. Why did it create a topic? So if we come back over here on our Docker Compose file, we'll see that in the Kafka's service, when we were getting the service up, we have mentioned auto create topics enable, right? So this is enabled as true, meaning that if a topic does not exist, then choose some defaults and do something, but do not fail that request, which is what it has done. So it has created a topic with two partitions, and it has actually created a topic over here. Okay, so we can validate that too. So number of partitions are 2. We didn't specify that, but because we just created a message against this topic, it automatically got created. The topic got created. And if I click on this topic, if I click on the messages, then I see that there is a message that sits over here. And if I click on this, oh, there it is. Okay. So the key is nothing. We didn't send any key, but the message is, hello, how are you? This is a message that was sent. Okay, perfect. Now we can continue sending more messages. How have you been? And now you're not getting that error message anymore that the topic does not exist, because the topic has been created now, right? So if you refresh your page, you will see a second message came up, and you can do newest first. So it is arranged on this, and you have your message shown over here. How have you been? Okay, so we are able to now both create a topic, and we are able to send messages to a topic by using the command line interface. And if the topic doesn't exist, we see that it chooses the defaults for us and creates a topic for us too. And you can do a Control-C, and they can get out of this over here. Okay, if I do, oh, okay, all right, I accidentally exited out of it. So let's just run this particular Docker exit command and get inside of our Docker container again. All right, so let's continue with our tutorial over here, continue with the guide and how to produce messages from a file. So you can actually choose to create a text file, and you can enter some messages over there. And then after you have entered those messages, you can provide that text file as an input for you to create those messages for you, right? So let's do that. So to create a file, we can do nano. If nano, I don't think nano is here, right? Yep, nano isn't here. So the way we can create this is, so we can use cat for doing it, and we can do cat and then input topic input.text, right? So we do not have access, it says sudo topic. Okay, all right. Does cat work over here? Yeah, looks like it does. So cat is working, but I do not have access to run this over here. Interesting. All right, let's just exit out of the Docker container and let's just try creating this file outside of the Docker container. So we can create it using echo, or outside we can create using anyway, right? So let's do a nano, and the name is topic hyphen input.txt, and let's just add these two lines in there. Control X, Y, enter. And if you do a lsla, you have topic input.txt file outside of the Docker container, right? So we have created it just outside. And then what we're going to do is docker cp. We are going to copy this using the Docker command. What file we're going to copy? Topic input.txt. And where we are going to copy Kafka basics, right? Basics hyphen Kafka A1, and this is the container name that we saw, right? So this is this container name when you were taking a look at the Docker's details. So I don't think it will show over here. Oh, it is here. Kafka basics Kafka A1. That's the container name. So let's go back over here. That's the container name over here. And where do we want to copy it? And what do we want to copy it as is slash topic hyphen input.txt. And you won't face all these problems if you're not running the Kafka inside of a Docker container, because we are. That is why it is having this problem. Okay, so we have copied this file from outside of Docker to inside of Docker now. And this file will be lost, of course, when you restart a Docker container, but at least for the purpose of this tutorial, we should be all right. So let's go back into our Docker container, just do a lsla, and hopefully this file is there, topic input.txt. Awesome. And so now if we want to run our Kafka command such that it will consume from this particular text file, so we should be able to do that now. So let's copy this command and let's paste it and review what the command is actually doing. So it is doing a console producer, bootstrap server, localhost is this bootstrap server, topic name is text-to-speech, and then we are saying that, hey, use this particular file for this topic over here. Let's hit enter, and it is doing its magic, and those two messages are produced. So let's take a look whether those messages are actually produced or not. Let's reload over here, and we have 1, 2 more messages. Hello world, and my name is Kafka. These two messages got produced over here from the file just now, which is awesome. All right, so let me just also do one thing over here. So we have string. So value should be string for key and value, and I'm going to do submit, and you will see that those exclamation marks that were showing up over here have gone away now. All right, so that was bothering me. That is gone, which is a good news. Okay, let's go back to our tutorial. So we have created a message directly against a topic. We have created a message using a file. And let's see what other things we can do over here. So we can create a message as a key value separator. Right? So what does that mean? That once we are producing a message, so let me paste it over here and then let's talk about it. So what's happening in this particular command is we are letting it know that all the way up until now is the same, right? Console producer, bootstrap server is 9092, topic is text-to-speech. What we are saying is that property parse key is true and property key separator is a colon. Right? So if I hit enter now, and if I say key as 1 and colon value as Mukul, right? So if I do this over here, and if I hit send now, then anything before 1 will be taken as a key, and anything after anything before colon will be taken as a key, and anything after the colon will be taken as the value. Let's hit send over here by hitting enter. Let's go back to the UI, And let's refresh this and see what happens. So now you see that there is a key populated over here, right? And the value is Mukul. So earlier in previous messages, we were not sending any key, but now we are sending a key over here, which is getting populated. So let's click on this and let's see key is being sent and value is being sent. In any previous message, there was no key and there was only value that was being sent. So this is really nice that we are able to do that. Let's see what else is here. And this is the last of this producers topic over here. Okay, so let's go back and let's see what other tutorials we have left. So we have Kafka consumers left over here. So for Kafka consumer, actually, what I'll do is I'll split this terminal into two halves. And on the top, I will have a Kafka producer open, right? So in the Kafka producer section, I will just produce against, okay, so I just want to produce over here against this, right? So I will have the ability to produce on the top, and then on the bottom I'll have the ability to consume the message. So we can visualize this. All right, so in Kafka consumers, let's take a look what's going on. So the command that we are going to use over here is Kafka console consumer.sh. Of course, it is a console consumer. So that's the command that we'll use. And we will latch on to this particular Bootstrap server, localhost 9092. The topic name is text-to-speech. So let's do that. Let's just put ourselves on here with this particular console consumer, right? And I'm going to hit enter, and oh, of course, it's not gonna be getting into my server. So I have to do the docker exec command, right? First. So let's do the docker exec command. I don't think this is the name of the Kafka container over here. So let's see. Kafka. The one that we have is basics. And then Kafka again, Kafka A1 and bash after that. Okay. All right. And now we can paste this particular Kafka consumer over here. Okay. All right. Let's just copy this again so that we don't mess it up. I'm going to copy it again from here, and then I'm going to paste it over here. And something is messed up while copying this, which it does not like. So let's just make sure we copy it correctly. And actually, I'll also enlarge this one too. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to hit send and see what happens. There's something that is messed up over here while copying. I don't want to type the whole thing, but looks like I'll have to type the whole thing over here. Okay, all right. Let's just type the whole thing. So the command is Kafka console consumer.sh. Something. Something, I don't know, something is messed up over here. It's just not working for me. So let me see what's going on my screen over here, and then I'll be back in just a second. All right, I have closed these both these consumers and producers, and I'm gonna start fresh again. So let me get into the Docker. And I'm in Docker now. Let's see if I can run the Kafka commands now. Okay, so I can run the Kafka commands now. So something got messed up over there. I don't know what, but closing the terminal and reopening it has worked. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to be consuming from this topic. So remember that as soon as I will send this particular command in, it will right away try to consume from all the messages that have already been sent to this topic, right? So let's hit enter and see what happens. So it is attempting to consume from all the previous messages from this topic. And let's see what's going on over here. Maybe we have a consumer that will show up. So if we come back over here, console consumer is here and there is no consumer lag. So it has apparently read everything so fast while it was messing up that we didn't even see that. So what we'll do is we'll produce a message over here against this topic. And let's say message after consumer was up. And let's say a key of 1 over here, right? Let's just produce this message. And let's see if that message was picked up. Yep, the message was picked up over here by the consumer, right? So we can actually make this like this. And we can produce another message over here. So we can see it live being caught by the console consumer. So we're going to produce another message and let's say key of 1 and message another message and produce, and it shows up by the console consumer. So now we are able to send messages to a topic and the console consumer is able to receive all these messages on the fly, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's go back to our tutorial. Consuming all historical and future messages, right? So this is the one that is only going to consume the future message, and that is why it wasn't. So it actually had moved the offset to the latest and then it was consuming. Okay, so my bad. It did not actually consume earlier. It actually was set to the latest, and that is why. So if we do from beginning, that is when it will start consuming again. So we can actually run this command and we can consume all the messages from the beginning and have all messages show up over here. So there we go. All the messages are shown up over here because we are consuming from beginning over here. All right. So this is a good example for a simple console consumer. And if you want to show both key and values, then this is the way. So we're going to show both key and values over here. And you see how we are saying that we want to show it from the beginning. So let's do that. Let me do a control C, get out of it, and then paste this new command over here, which is saying Kafka console consumer.sh. Bootstrap server is localhost 9092. Topic is text to speech. Formatter, this is the new option that we have now. So Kafka tools default message formatter, property print timestamp true, property print key true, property print value true, right? And then we are trying to get it from beginning over here. So let's hit enter and let's see all the different keys and values for the messages from the beginning over here, right? So we are seeing the timestamp and we are seeing the keys and values for all the messages that have been sent. All right, so there is another concept of consumer groups in Kafka, right? So you can have either one consumer or you can have multiple consumer in consumer group. So when you have more than one partition, right, then at that point of time, you can have more than one consumer in the consumer group. So in our case, we already have 2 partitions. So we can potentially have 2 consumers in the consumer group. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. So I'll just get one consumer group created for while I am going to create a console consumer. Okay, so before, let me go over here and show you this. So if you see, anytime when you do create a console consumer, you are actually creating a consumer group. And inside that consumer group, there is one active consumer that we were taking a look at. And if we create a consumer group manually, like my first application over here, then this is the name that will show up over here in the consumers. So in this consumers, you actually see the consumer groups over here. So let me hit enter and show you this. So see, now you are able to see my first application consumer group over here. The system did not create a consumer group by default, right? So now you have a consumer group created, and it is saying preparing rebalance because now there will be consumers that will be joining this particular consumer group, and you'll be seeing how they are consuming the messages over here, right? So if I come over here and if I produce a message, so let me go to this topic, which is subscribe to, which is text to speech, produce a message called hello. And let's just send this. Then you will see that one default consumer is already part of this consumer group. Right? So there's one consumer spun up by this consumer group over here right away. Now, if you have another consumer spun up over here, so let's see, and hopefully I don't get that same issue again, but let's find out. So what I'm going to do is first consumer in the consumer group is already created, which is done over here. Now, if we open a second terminal, and if we do the exact same thing in this terminal over here, right? So I'm going to copy and paste the exact same command over here. And I'm getting that issue again, so I won't be able to do it. And I don't know why I'm getting this issue, but application, and it is not letting me do it. But anyway, the idea is that if you join this particular consumer group again, then you will have a second consumer joining that consumer group. And by the virtue of having the second consumer, now you have two partitions, and each partition will be assigned to one consumer each. So one partition will be assigned to this consumer, and second partition will be assigned to this second consumer. If it did let me actually do this, which it is not. All right. So let's go and let's see the last consumer management. Okay. All right. So in this particular section over here, so let me actually close this window and let's do Control-C, get out of it. And actually, let me exit out of it, do a clear, and then come back over here. Okay. So similar to how you are able to do some interactions with the topics and with the producers, you can do some more management related interactions with the consumer group too. You can describe a consumer group over here. So let's describe this, my first application consumer group, and see what it shows to us. So when we describe this, it will show a few things. It will show that, let's make this bigger so that it looks pretty over here. And let's run this command again. Okay, so what it is showing is that there are, in this particular consumer group, there are two consumers, and they are both assigned to 0, partition 1 and partition 0. And the current offset for these are 6 and 3, 6 and 3, which means they have actually read all the messages, because the log end offset is exactly same as the current offset, right? So in partition 1, the current offset is same as the log end offset, which means that the consumer lag is 0. And the same way over here, the log end offset and the lag is 0. So I think because of the name that I have for this particular funny little Docker container over here, I have no name kind of thing, which is why it is messing up over here in the terminal, because you see the client ID is also kind of messed up over here for this particular consumer that we see. But anyway, describe is something that shows you details that you can actually see on the Kafka UI. So right here, you can see that there are details on the Kafka UI already. And let's see if there's any other interesting command line that is left over here. Oh yeah, so you can actually observe the current offsets, right, by using describe. And you can also reset the current offset using your reset offsets command over here. So you can reset it to earliest, you can reset it to any particular number, right? So you can shift the offset by going back a little bit. And you can also reset the offset by an actual number if you would like to. So let's go and see there. There must be a command over here. Just trying to find that command. So reset the offset by shifting by 2. Okay, so there isn't one that can give you an exact offset number, it appears, but you can shift it by a certain number and then it can go back to a certain number. So let's do that. Let's see if we can reset the offset over here and shift it a little bit. So I'm going to reset it, shift by 2 and hit enter. And let's do the describe command again and let's see what happens to it. So after describing, you can see after resetting it by 2, the current offset value is 4 and 1 and the log end is 6 and 3. So it has reset by 2 each, and the lag, consumer lag, is now 2 each for each one of these partitions, which is awesome in a way that you can do it, but not awesome that you have a lag over here. All right, you can list your consumer and all that, what we have already seen. You can list the consumer group, and let's run this command also over here, and you can see that you have your consumer group over here. The state is empty. It's actively not listening right now. And let's go down. And what else you can do? You can delete a consumer group over here. So let's do that. Let's just delete it and get done with it. And it will be removed from our offsets table also after it being deleted. And I think this is all that we would like to see today. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for staying along with this particular part of the video. I think I'll cover the actual Python application in the next video. This video has already ran for about an hour now. I don't want to extend it, and I think the Python application will take another at least 30 minutes. So let me cover the Python application in the next video, but stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I would love to see your feedback. How do you like this tutorial over here for Kafka, and what else you'd like to see me make next? Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.